Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. One of the things you learn by watching sports for a long time is seeing players who have that special quality, that radiant personality, that intensity, that ability to make the big play. For example, yesterday it was Colin Kaepernick for the 49ers, but during the season you see Des Bryant on the Cowboys or Cordarrelle Patterson on the Vikings. And these are special players who bring a unique flair to the game, both from personality and, of course, from ability.
Yeah, well, you watched yesterday's game. That big run really won the game for them. I think they were right on 30. They weren't to the 35-yard line when he ran to the 22-yard line, and you knew they were in field goal position. And that was a big play. How about the guy that blitzed them? He goes up, takes the middle away, doesn't take the outside away from him. He runs. If he contained the outside, he wouldn't have been able to do anything there. He didn't have anybody open, but it's a big factor. Look at Rodgers. Yeah, how many pressures did he get away from?
Well, one of the big issues they made yesterday was Rodgers scrambled. He made a great play. Well, they didn't comment about the lineman who tackled the guy who was about to sack him. It wasn't a little bit of a hold. He just tackled him.
No, that reminded me of when the Patriots lost to the Giants, the first Super Bowl they lost to the Giants, when Seymour and Law were in there, and they had Manning, and the guy tackled Seymour. Just grabbed him and threw him off of him.
Well, during the regular season, the average number of penalties per game was a little over 14, and this weekend in the playoffs, it was about 7. So you see a lot of stuff just not getting called.
They're saying that's good for the Patriots, especially someone like Talib. They say that's going to help them against Indianapolis. And it will. If they let them play and not call those penalties.
You never really know what pass interference is anymore because you have this idea that if it looks like it, it should be it, but sometimes they call it and sometimes they don't.
Well, look at the Patriots this year. They won one game because of it, and they lost one game because they didn't call it. So, that's the way it goes.
Another important issue for sports, and if you watch sports a lot, as we do, and I'm sure if you're watching this show, you got to be a sports nut, because if you're a casual fan, why would you?
Well, our fans have been asking, where you been?
Yeah, they don't take 60 minutes off for a month. But there are regular themes, and one of the themes, no matter what sport you're in, is taking away the other team's top offensive threat, or at least limiting them. You're not going to totally stop them, but you wonder, for example, like Kaepernick, how do they let the guy scramble and run for 87 yards? You know he's going to do that.
Well, again, some of these guys, you coach them. What are these head coaches and coordinators going to do when they tell them to do one thing and they do something different because they're so competitive? They want to make a play instead of contain. Their mentality, especially in football, I got to drill him, I got to make the play, And that time when Kaepernick ran that big run, the cornerback came up, and he just tried to make the tackle, didn't contain the outside, and he ran.
And it made it easy. The blocker on the outside just shoved him to the inside. So Kaepernick, tremendous athlete. He's apparently an elite pitcher. He can throw the ball in the mid-90s, and you know what he can do with his legs.
But Ron, we talked about that when the Patriots played Carolina, and we had the show, and I was saying, what's wrong with these players? Number one, they're not going to tackle them. They're going after them. They're not going to tackle them, so contain them so they can't run and put pressure up the middle on them.
Well, and the other thing that this weekend reminded fans, if you don't know, the NFL is a league of coaches and quarterbacks. So if you didn't have a superior coach-quarterback combination like Cincinnati, you went out because Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton just couldn't get it done. Dalton having a horrendous game, fumbling it with nobody around him, just diving for a first down, and then throwing some terrible interceptions.
Well, the big play of the game where they would have had the game under control is when the back fumbled the ball on the 3-yard line after he caught the pass. If they go in there, they have control of the game. They're playing a different type game. This type of game, they're scrambling. Nothing's going right, turnovers. But when you know how it is, when you feel good about yourself and you have the confidence, you're an entirely different team. And they could never get it. They can never get to the point where they really felt comfortable playing the game because of the turnovers.
Well, when it comes to this coming weekend, at least in the AFC, the Chargers at the Broncos and Indianapolis at the Patriots, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see at least one underdog win. I don't know which one it'll be, but I don't think it's going to be easy for either team.
Well, I feel good about the Patriots game. I was hoping that Indianapolis I was hoping Cincy won. So the Pats would play Cincy.
With so many injuries.
And Indianapolis would be playing Denver, because I thought Indianapolis would give Denver problems. But now that I look at it, San Diego's been playing really good. They're really feeling good about themselves. They have a ton of confidence. They beat Denver by 7, 27-20. Indianapolis beat Denver also. The Pats beat Denver. So the three other teams in it have beaten Denver. Those are their only 3 losses. But, you know, I like the Pats. We talked about it. I like the Pats because there's 2 key players. Hilton, they have to stop. And we both agreed that you don't want to put Talib on him because he's small and he's quick.
Well,
You want to double up on him.
the Chargers have a really good passing game. Rivers is pretty much on top of his game. Von Miller's out for the season with knee injury, so their pass rush is hurt for the Broncos. Welker's coming back from a concussion. You know, I thought before that one of the reasons the Patriots were willing to let Welker go was because they were worried about the number of hits he's had, and he's already had a couple of concussions this year. So, you know, his career is probably getting pretty short now.
No, that's all Belichick. He didn't like his comments, Welker's comments, you know, when he really was sarcastic about Belichick.
Well, the guy can still play, there's no question, but is he getting a lot of cumulative injury?
But Ron, they talk about Belichick, you know, and a lot of, you know, he's a great coach. So they say. I don't know. If he's a great coach, why isn't his defense better over the last 5 years? All right, but, you know, when you're in the playoffs and you make it to the Super Bowl, he's made it to the Super Bowl five times with the Patriots, you know, and he has a shot this year. But how do you let a play like Welker go? And then, what people don't realize, you let Woodhead go. He's making $1.75 million. The Patriots were $10 million over the cap when they started the season, under the cap. They had $10 million to spend, and they don't give him $2 million a year. A guy like Woodhead who comes up with a ton of big plays, so they let him go. They let Welker go, and they almost let Edelman go. They got lucky with Edelman. He was ready to go.
Robert, don't call me Bob Kraft, has a lot of expenses. You know, you're got man about town, you need money.
But what is he thinking about it? I mean, I know he liked Vereen, but Woodhead's a special player. He's quick, he's small, he's tough to see, gets the big first downs, catches passes out of the backfield. He worked great with Brady. But all right, so they like Vereen. So they keep Bolden?
Well, what it brings, the question I guess that's being asked is, do personnel guys in the NFL take some things personally? Which brings us to the story of Chris Kluwe, the Minnesota Vikings former punter who holds all the Vikings punting records, who in an article in Deadspin said why he was let go as a punter because of controversial statements he made about gay marriage. Now, we're not here to talk about gay marriage, just to say that Kluwe was an outspoken supporter of the cause as a straight guy, and the owner of the Vikings apparently was fine with that, but the general manager, the head coach, Leslie Frazier, former head coach, and the special teams coach were not okay with Kluwe speaking out. Now, there have been over 2.3 million hits on that article on Deadspin. Now, to be fair, he was in exactly the same situation as Zoltan Mesko. He was a punter making a lot of money. And if you're making $1.6 million as a punter and they can bring in a punter for low-end salary, $450 or whatever the minimum is in the NFL, you're going to get cut. So I don't think he got cut because of what he said. He got cut because he was making too much money.
Yeah, but he spoke out for gay marriage.
Right, exactly.
I mean, who's going to hold that against them?
Well,
they had to be idiots. The manager and the general manager?
Well, apparently the special teams coach was well-known, and Kluwe has basically challenged him to, he said, if it wants to go legal, I'm willing to go legal on it. And there was a lot of homophobic statements out of the special teams coach, according to Kluwe, such to the point that players didn't even want to be around the special teams coach because some people called it a hostile work environment. Now, I know that's a hot potato in and of itself. But, as for the Patriots, certainly if you don't see Patriots guys speaking out against management ever.
Oh, Welker did last year.
And he's gone.
What did he say what did he say? Was that?
It's nice to be able to stick it in his face.
Yeah, you know that. That's why he's gone. It's that simple.
Well, who says bad things about their boss and doesn't expect there to be repercussions?
But what gets me, though, people that realize this, Edelman caught 105 passes this year. He almost lost Edelman. Edelman, if he got a better offer from another team. He was gone. Remember how late they signed him?
Well, he was coming off of a foot injury, which is really, he's never been able to play a whole season until this year. And he caught over 100 passes, had over 1,000 yards receiving, and he's going to get paid, especially with the possibility of Josh McDaniels going to the Browns. And, certainly there's going to be enough demand for him, so he'll probably be making $3 or $4 million a year as a slot receiver next year for somebody.
But they're going into the playoffs. I think they're in real good shape. But we're going to talk about the Patriots later.
Well, no, we'll go now.
Right.
The question is, what will the Patriots' strategy be? Who will they try to take it away, and how are they going to do that? And T.Y. Hilton is the guy the Patriots are going to want to stop, as well as the tight end.
Well, there's no way they're going to put Talib on Hilton. Hilton's too small. He's small and too quick. You're not going to use Talib on him. We talked about it. The best way to stop this Indianapolis offense is to double up on him, play a cover 2 on his side wherever he is, have a safety over the top, and really someone like Ryan could cover him on short patterns. He goes deep, and you got the safety there. So you got him pretty well covered.
What about the secret weapon? They just signed him.
Oh, Branch, that's a joke. They're trying to get info from him. With all the scouting they have nowadays and the computers and everything else, what is he going to add to them? He's not going to play any plays.
Well, he can't run. I mean, that's why nobody would be running him out of town. The poor guy couldn't run anymore, which is why he's not in the league.
But I would hold Talib for Is it Fleener?
Fleener.
Fleener's a tight end. He's a second leading receiver in that team behind Hilton. You saw what Talib did against Graham for
Well, I'm worried about the
New Orleans.
Cam Newton Kaepernick effect with Luck running.
Yeah, but Luck, he's not in that class. He can run, but they'll game plan for that. If they can control the tight ends with Talib, I hope they do that. Double up on Hilton. I think he's going to have a tough time. And the Pats are going to do something like that. They're going to take away Hilton. They're not going to go one-on-one with Talib. That's ridiculous. I mean, Talib's physical. He's quick enough, but he's not. This Hilton is quick and he's small. Why put Talib on him when you can double him and put Talib on the tight end?
Right. So I don't know. I haven't seen the Colts play enough to whether they like to put Hilton in motion to try to keep him from getting chucked at the line of scrimmage. Certainly, I mean, if you miss the guy, then you got a problem when you're trying to jam the receivers at the line of scrimmage.
You know what else you got to hope for? The weather. You got to hope the weather is cold and maybe rainy and a little.
I think
snowy.
they're talking about a pretty reasonable day.
Yeah.
40 degrees, something like that.
But I've been thinking about it. I originally wanted them playing Cincy. Cincy's physical, but I figured they can control Cincy's offense. But Indianapolis, I mean, that's the best defense to go up against if you're Brady. You double up on Mathis. I was thinking today, right, where the tight ends haven't been big factors in their passing game, the Patriots. Double up with your tight end. Double up Mathis with your tight end and control him. You control him, and the rest of the linemen do their job. Brady's going to have a great day against them. He's going to pick them apart. And if you watch the Kansas City game, Kansas City was picking them apart with the short passing game. And Brady's great at that. I just wish that, Dobson was back. I don't know if he's going to be healthy. Tompkins. They need a guy who's about 6 feet who can go down field a little.
They still don't have people who consistently can stretch the field. Amendola, I don't know how healthy he is. He's variably productive. Yeah, he's got to do more.
Well, they need more than Edelman and him in the backs and Vereen. They need a receiver to do something. They don't have a receiver can do it. They don't have one receiver can go downfield right now.
Right. They've got a lot of possession receivers. Tompkins, Cauley, Boyce is on injured reserve now.
And he runs. He's their fastest receiver.
Right. But it wasn't like you'd be expecting anything from him because he hasn't done very much the whole year.
But I think Brady's going to manage it. They're going to run with Blount. They're going to do a lot of running. I think he's going to manage the team well. But I think Brady's going to get into a groove. He's going to get rhythm in this game against Indianapolis where he's feeling good about himself. And they're going to be tough to stop. I think they're going to control Indianapolis.
Well, they put Brandon Spikes on injured reserve. Obviously, the Colts are not a big running team. And then presumably Hightower will slide over and take that spot.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Fletcher will play more, my guy. Fletcher will play more. And he made the big play, in that game against Buffalo. People aren't saying that.
The guy who has come along out of nowhere, Collins has improved a lot. And Silver Salinga, who is
he's been a blessing.
Out of nowhere, he's really done as much as Wilfork would have been doing.
Yeah,
probably.
he's been real good. Yeah, there was 9 tackles. He had a sack, a pass deflection,
forced fumble.
Yeah.
So he's been real active in there. And sometimes you get these young guys, you give them a chance, I mean, he was on Seattle's roster, so he has to be a pretty good player.
Yeah, and then they was it Villano?
Villano.
Villano and
And Jones.
Jones. Jones was starting with him, but then when Salinga got Salinga got hurt for a while, went out. Villano came in and made 2 big tackles, and then they started switching the 3 of them. So if they can do that, my thinking is that they may put Ninkovich in at linebacker at times, and they may slide Carter over there. They have Jones on one side, Carter's there. So if you need a linebacker, that's what he was, an outside linebacker. And once in a while, he has been playing some outside linebacker. They keep him back to defend the pass, especially against a team like Indianapolis. But then you need to rush him too, so they can mix things up.
I don't think we can make too much of the dome teams going outside because, Indianapolis beat San Francisco, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, they've been successful away from home. They've been successful in the elements, and they certainly have somebody in Luck who, they have to be really happy as a successor to Manning, a guy that can take their team into the future.
Yeah, right. And what more can you ask for? They're playing Indianapolis. If they win, they make it to the finals.
Well,
with all the injuries they've had.
If you really believe you're a Super Bowl contending team, you got to beat everybody along the way. You're not allowed to have one bad game. Everybody's got to ramp up their intensity. All right, okay, you've got injuries. Everybody has injuries.
Right.
Reggie Wayne is out for the Colts.
And I still like the team. They have McCourty back. They'll have McCourty, Gregory, Harmon will be backing them up.
Dennard probably be back too.
Hopefully Dennard's back because then he can cover the other receiver, who's not that good. I think he caught 40 passes. They're 2 big receivers, and Hilton's only caught 76 passes.
Well, it's never a blessing to have injuries, but guys like Ryan and Harmon got a lot of experience playing this year, and you're seeing, they make fun of the Patriots because they have all these Rutgers guys, but you're seeing Rutgers guys showing up around the league too. So obviously, Schiano had something going there.
Right, but you compare Brady with Luck. Luck manages the team well too. You look at them and say, how do they score all these points against the real good teams? And when you look at the Hilton's got I think 80-something receptions, and Fleener has 50-something. And you look at it and you say, how do they score? But he manages the team.
But also, if the Patriots had a 28-point lead at the half, you would hope that now we all remember the game that they lost to the Colts before when they had the 21-3 lead at the half. But that's not 28 points. So
No.
We'll be right back.
Good evening, sports fans. And I know we are all salivating. Can't wait for the Patriots to dispose of Andrew Luck this weekend, so that we can face off with the hated Peyton Manning as the Pats victoriously run off the field for the last time this year. Victorious. Ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry, I am not a naysayer. I am not pessimistic. I am realistic. I could be wrong. Maybe this is just a bold prediction. Maybe it's just me being an idiot. But I'll tell you why. Now, I'm not just going to sound like some, armchair quarterback who watched a few games and says, the Patriots aren't going anywhere. Look at they pulled out games against lousy teams in the last second. This and that. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go back to the Denver game. It was a miraculous comeback. However, should we get by the Colts this weekend, and we have to face off against Manning again, yes, it will be in Denver, and I hope to God that it's 0 degrees because his stats in 0-degree weather. But let's talk about the Patriots, though. They took a great advantage of something that day. If you remember, the wind was hellacious, and you could not connect a pass outside the hash marks. And let's face it, the Patriots have not had a passing game outside the hash mark since Randy Moss left. And you know what? It's a credit to Belichick when people say, Belichick's overrated. No, he's not. When they say Brady is overrated. No, he's not. They're 12-4 this year. And you know what? They did it with mirrors. Because I'm going to tell you something. You do not lose 2 of your better interior linemen and the best interior lineman in all of football. Linebackers go down. Your best cornerback's been hobbled for the last 6 weeks. As far as safeties go, I don't know, you don't need them anymore because God knows you can't hit anybody, but I digress. Brandon Spikes, great linebacker. Well, he'll be in street clothes on Sunday. Whether he's at the game or whether he's on the sideline or whether he's in a hospital or wherever, he will not be in a Patriots uniform on the field. And the aforementioned Gerard Mayo, tremendous loss. Teams have been running through the middle this year, in case you haven't noticed. Vince Wilfork, tremendous loss. Tommy Kelly, big loss. Then we had tight ends. If Gronkowski isn't the best tight end in the league, he's the best tight end on the injured reserve list. And then, of course, we also lost Christian Hernandez, another great tight end, to stupidity. We have wide receivers. Think about this. Aaron Dobson cannot get open outside the hash marks. Once in a while, yes, he made a great catch. When you think about these games that we've pulled against New Orleans, and these guys have made some great catches. Kenbrell Tompkins, you know what? Maybe down the road, maybe next year, another full training camp. Maybe we will have that vertical passing game. But you know, we don't have it right now. We can't do anything outside the hash marks. And you know, everybody worried about this Wes Welker. Wes who? He's gone. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, maybe he never left. Maybe he's been reincarnated in number 11's uniform because Edelman has looked tremendous. Think about what he did this year. Actually, you don't have to think about it. Just look at the last few years. He did what Welker did. So, you know what? Letting Welker go didn't kill us. We have not replaced Randy Moss. And when all is said and done, if we can't protect Brady on Sunday, who's he going to throw to? I mean, it's a good thing we got Bolden out of the backfield because he's been probably one of the most consistent pass catchers not named Edelman. Amendola has been really good. He was a great addition to the team. But, you know, we didn't really need a couple of Welkers out there. We really needed a Welker, and, you know, Jerry Rice would have been nice, but, you know, Chris Carter would have been nice. We could use a nice big receiver that is actually going to take a cornerback and a safety with them so that Brady can actually do some checkdowns. Offensive line, hopefully they're all healthy. Hopefully they all stay healthy. You know, I wonder, as I sit here, should I start waffling on my prediction? No, I don't think the Patriots are going to win Sunday. I think the Colts are a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I just think that it's going to happen, that we're going to be disappointed the way we were last year when they couldn't beat Baltimore. It's probably going to be this Sunday because we do not have the horses. Pun intended. Am I happy about it? No, I'm not happy about it. I want them to win. But I'm sorry, I just don't see it happening. So tune in a couple of weeks, and I don't know, maybe I'll be sitting here eating crow. I hope so.
Welcome back. We've come away from the longest holiday vacation / snow break in the history of school, but the teams are back playing, a number of them playing at a pretty high level, and we've had the good fortune to watch some girls hockey this season, and they have a nice blend of some experienced players with some strong seniors, juniors, and a lot of young players with 12 of the 23 players, 8th and 9th graders.
Right, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, we've seen, like you said, we've seen 2 games, the Winchester game and the Stoneham game. We did both of them, and I had a lot of fun watching them. I mean, it's unbelievable, the talent level there. I mean, the thing that's really impressed me is, though, how hard all the players work, Ron. Every player that goes out in that ice works extremely hard. I mean, you compare it to other sports, you look at other sports, I mean, they're all working hard. But you see that you have to really give 100% when you're on that ice. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, Gorman, even though they have the wrong numbers with the rosters last game, and we got off,
right.
After 2 periods, we found out that Gorman, that was a disaster. But
Well, it's a new strategy where you put your best player in a different uniform so the other team doesn't know who they are.
we thought there was another Gorman. We thought Gorman was hurt, and there was it Porcello?
Right.
I said, wow, they got 2 strong, tough skaters but Gorman's unreal.
Well, both Gorman sisters had a very strong game, one in the
Yeah.
front, one in the back. I think it was Haley had 2 goals, and you know, very strong effort. And it's exciting to watch, to see how the younger players mesh with the experienced veterans. And our understanding is that the younger players have had a lot of success in youth hockey, so there's potentially something really great coming down the line for Melrose girls hockey.
Oh yeah, you look throughout the whole lineup. You know, you have some of these girls like Conley. I don't remember all the girls. I wish I did, but the defensive players. I mean, Mercer, she's going to be unbelievable. I was thinking about
Right.
the skating. Remember that couple times when a girl was, they had a break and Mercer's like 10 yards behind the girl that's in the center ice, and she took 2 strides and she caught up with her. I mean, just unbelievable, the talent
Well,
level.
and it's interesting. It's a sport ostensibly where there's no contact, and we've seen a couple of vicious elbows. We've seen one punch in the face. We saw the referees, who do a very good job controlling the game, are screaming, "Play the puck, not the girl." And then the Stoneham girl elbows one of the Melrose players in the head, and she gets sent off. And then shortly after that, a Melrose player shoots a puck into the Stoneham bench. Might have been by accident. I mean, I don't know. And then another Melrose
I
player
think that was Mercer.
another Melrose player just flattened another girl, plain out, skated right into her, got a charging penalty. But the players kind of police themselves. If you go off the ranch, then something bad is going to happen to you.
Yeah, Samantha Rush does an unbelievable job with that group too. I mean, they're just so well coached. I mean, they're always in the right spot. You never see them out of position, and just the way they skate, like well, it's either DeFrey or DeFry. She's an unbelievable skater, and she's an 8th grader. But it's not just the 8th graders. I mean, they have 6, I believe 6 8th graders that are really talented. But they, the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, the senior class, there's only 3 of them, but they're all very good.
Right.
Cleese is a goalie. You have Gorman
And Craig.
and Craig. Again, Craig had the wrong number on too. We're calling her someone else during the game till the 3rd period. But they're talented.
Right. So as fans who have never seen girls hockey before, it's very entertaining and very competitive. It's pretty compelling athletic action. It's like watching football. Because everybody's got a helmet on, you don't know who the players are.
Right. That's the problem. You don't know what they look like because they have the helmets on, and like football, we didn't know who Mercer was. We know they're off. And then eventually you see them without a helmet on. Then you say, oh, that's what he looks like. That's what he looks like. But, as basketball fans, big basketball fans for the last 20 years or whatever, longer, I mean, this has been exciting watching the girls hockey. I mean, this is a tremendous sport, and it's just a lot of fun.
Right. And we try to recognize all the players. It's hard to do that. It's not like we don't want to give your kid enough love because, we understand that they're all out working very hard and going to be very successful. I think they have a chance to make the tournament. They're 2-3-1 right now, and they're
going to get better. They're young. They're going to get better and better, and they have great leadership. I mean, Gorman had an unbelievable game. Once I knew it was Gorman.
Well, anyway, there's a lot of good things to say. And the boys got off to a 5-0-1 start before they lost a game to Wilmington.
Yeah, they both lost to Wilmington past weekend. The boys lost, I think, 4-1.
And the difference between this year and last year, the boys just look physically a lot stronger. They were good last year, but they look a little more offensive minded.
But Ron, they're in an unbelievable league. Both the girls and the boys. I mean, look at the
Right.
boys league. I mean, we haven't even seen Reading yet. I mean, they played Winchester. I don't know if they played Reading. They played Winchester. They just played Wilmington.
I don't think they played Burlington yet.
Burlington's tough. They won it last year to be Division Two.
One, yeah.
And so they're going to be playing a lot of real good teams. But it's great that they're 5-1-1 now, so they're in great shape for the tournament.
Right, and they have some nice venues. Sometimes some of the games we've seen are at awkward times. So and people may not even know they were playing, so there weren't big crowds. But high school hockey, it's easy to understand why it's gaining in popularity.
Right, and it's, you see some of these defensemen from the point shooting the puck. You see Marissa shooting the puck. God, I mean, and you watch them skate. And when you're there watching it, not on TV, watching it live, I mean, they're moving. Even you watch the girls' games, they're moving. I mean, there's a difference between the boys and the girls because they let the boys hit. I know you ask most of the girls, they'd all want to hit, but.
Right. Well, it's easy to understand how, with the concern over concussions, which is quite legitimate, and we know there are literally thousands of concussions a year in high school sports in Massachusetts, that they want to do everything they can to protect the players because they're still growing and developing, and hockey or whatever sport is not going to be the rest of their life.
Yeah, but I haven't seen many, well, we've only seen 2 girls' games live, but I'm willing to bet that you're going to be seeing some of those girls playing college hockey someday. You're going to be seeing several of those girls playing college hockey.
Well, I'm sure, and it's great to see the younger players, interacting with the older players. It's just good to see the teamwork and the spirit that these girls have on the ice and presumably off the ice.
Yeah, and what I really like is, I just like to see, I like watching Gorman lead the girls, the younger girls, in Cleese and who's Craig. Watch them. They really, they take the lead. Especially Gorman. She takes the lead. She's physically strong skater, and it makes it a lot easier for the younger players to play against those teams.
Well, I'm sure we'll have some more of their players on in the future, and
yeah,
we'll get to see what they actually look like.
It's been great. It really has been.
Girls basketball is kind of struggling a little bit. They were able to win their opening game of the season in overtime, and since then they've dropped 5 straight games. It's always a process. You lost a number of seniors last year. First-year coach Lindsay Shanahan has got to develop a philosophy. She says that she would like to have a running team. You have to have the players drilled in order to achieve that goal. Right now they're struggling as they're really turning the ball over a little bit more than I'm sure the players and the coaches would like to see. And defensively, there have been some issues, especially in transition.
Yeah, what you see, what I see in the games I've seen, they have no identity, right now. It's not on Coach Shanahan, who I've really enjoyed watching her coach this team. I've watched her when things haven't gone right. She's still coaching. She's not getting upset at the girls, and what I like is she's giving everybody a chance early on in her, coaching career. This is her first year coaching varsity basketball. So, she's giving everybody a chance. And I think eventually she's brought Kat up, which I like. We said that Kat is probably the most talented player in the whole program, and she started off in the JV with Lenora, another one who, to me, those 2 players are what I have seen, even now, even before the season, I told you that I thought Kat, Lenora, and Victoria were 3 of the top 5 players in the whole program, and I still believe it. And once the coaches understand Victoria and know how to work with her, they're going to see that she's very, very talented. They don't know her yet. It's, right now they're trying to get to know, all the players, but I'm glad Kat went up. I think she scored 13 points yesterday in a game.
Right,
in 2 periods.
Right, in her first game she had 4 points and 7 rebounds in
only half the game.
In half the game.
Because she played half JVs.
And I have a system called the player performance rating system, which looks very objectively at player performance. For example, a made shot is worth 2 points, a missed shot is worth -2 or -3, defensive rebound +1, offensive rebound +2, turnovers -2, assists +2, etc. And in the game I saw, Katie Sullivan had the highest performance rating of +9, and Kat was second with +8, but that was again only in half a game. Now, any positive rating is a good rating, and anything negative just shows that you haven't been able to contribute as much. For example, let's say a player shot 5 for 15, so they led the team in scoring with 10 points and had 4 turnovers, as an example. Well, 5 for 15 would give you +10 and then -20, so you're -10. And then the 4 turnovers would be -8, so you're -18. Well, that doesn't mean you cost the team to lose by 18 points. It just means on the scale from maximally negative to maximally positive, and basketball is going into a sabermetric or analytic type sport with multiple books coming out. There's an author, Dean Oliver, who's one of the management of the Denver Nuggets now at the Sloan School annual conference on sports analytics, all except 2 NBA teams were represented. So if you think that analytics don't mean anything and won't be important, I can guarantee you that coaches in the future, if you think your child's getting a scholarship, they're going to be breaking down film on the player, seeing what she does when she's not shooting the ball. Is she setting screens? Is she getting steals? Is she blocking out? There's a lot that is going into player evaluation in an objective way.
Well, what do you do in your system? Do you count defense?
Yeah, if you cause, for example, if you come up and force a player to make a turnover, fumble the ball out of bounds, you get +2 for that. In my system, if you set a screen that leads directly to a basket, you get +2. If you throw a great pass that leads to a player shooting the ball and getting fouled, you either get +1 or +2 if they make free throws.
Well, what if you hold someone? What if you hold someone to 0 for 10 shooting?
Yeah, I don't have any great way to individually. If you make a great defensive play on something, and clearly contest a great shot, if you get a block shot, you get points.
See, in my system is #1 defense. I mean, if you're a great defensive player and like you said, if you, like our team that just went up there, when they were 8th graders and they were playing this summer, I mean, they had it down so well, defense. I mean, no one was getting to the basket against our team. And you talk about an identity, they had an identity and a half.
Right. If you said, what is our core defensive philosophy? And our players should know this. Number 1, it's pressure on the ball. Number two is don't allow the ball into the post. It's going to happen, but that's our goal. 3, don't allow the ball into the lane. 4, contest all shots without fouling. And number 5, clean up the defensive boards. That's what you have to do. That's what our players who we had.
Jump the ball, take away the angles.
So our players who we had for 4 years, they understood exactly what that meant. They knew they could rely on their teammates to do those things. And if you watch a team now predominantly playing zone defense doesn't mean you're just responsible to stand in a spot at the elbow. If you're playing a 2-3 zone, your job, if you're at the top of the elbow, is to pressure the ball when it comes into your area, is to deny passes into the lane when it's away. Stoneham the other night, defensively, talked better, the girls, than any other team I have seen in years defensively. And they deserve lots of credit for that because obviously they're well coached to do that.
Well, here's what we were talking about. We talk about having your identity. And of course, I mean, you can't have, people get aggravated when they hear me talk about this freshman class. But I'm just trying to compare something here. You have the high school team now, the varsity. Right now they have 0 identity. They don't understand how to work with their teammates. They don't. I mean, I watched that game where I had to leave. I had to leave early.
The Stoneham game.
The Stoneham game where, no, it wasn't Stoneham, it was Tewksbury. I saw the Tewksbury game where Sullivan got the ball twice early in the game and overpowered their power forward. She overpowered her twice and got 2 easy baskets. Well, if you had an identity at all, if the team had an identity at all, they would have realized right away, there's our go-to person right now until they start trapping her. And then we move the ball to the open girl, Foot for a wide open shot. You got the best shooter in your team is Foot. Okay? So what are they doing? Do they have an identity to say, okay, let's go to Sullivan, keep going to Sullivan until they trap down, let Foot get her the ball down low from the wing. They trap down on Sullivan, kick it back out to Foot for wide open 3.
Well,
there's absolutely no identity.
Right. What Ralph's saying is what Bobby Knight says in a simple sentence. He says, shooters shoot, passers pass, everyone plays defense. Now, for example, on one play they run with a side pick and roll. If you know the player is going to come off the side pick and roll and you have a left-handed player, you put the left-handed player on the right side of the court so she can go with her strong hand to the basket. Instead of rearranging it so she has to go with her weak hand off the pick and roll. Now you say, like, what difference does it make? It makes a lot of difference because players are not equally skilled with both hands in high school.
Right. And I go back, if we're talking, let's talk about, Melrose High School basketball. I remember several years ago when Colleen Hanscom's senior year, and Hannah Brickley and all them, they were really down on the way the program was going. Even though they were good, coach was down on them. They were one of the best teams in the Division II North. So parents called me and asked me to go talk to them. And I talked to them. I says, you talk about identity, you have an identity, but you have Amanda Peters here who's the best shooter in the team. I said, when she comes in the game, she only comes in the game for a while. the teams don't know her. I said, look for her if she's open for the three-point shot. She's the best three-point shooter on the team. What happens? They're playing over at Emmanuel College. They're playing against Arlington Catholic to go to the Garden, whoever wins. They're in a close game. They got 3 girls in foul trouble. They're in a close game. Amanda Peters comes in with a minute and something to go in the first half.
Right.
Pass the ball to Amanda Peters. She buries a 3. 20 seconds later, they come down, pass her again. She buries another 3. They pull away from Arlington Catholic. When I'm talking about identity, you know what you have there. What Melrose has now is, in that game, they should have known that Sullivan was going to overpower that girl until you want them to make an adjustment. You want them to double up Sullivan to kick the ball to the open girls. Do they know that Foot's their best shooter and they're going to try to get her the ball? They don't have that identity. They don't understand it.
Well, sometimes you'll hear the expression dumb jock. Well, there's nothing dumb about a player like LeBron James. Yes, he's a great athlete. Yes, he can overpower people with his physical skills, but it just didn't happen. People learn how to play. There's an evolution. Great players like a guy like Tracy McGrady didn't really do anything for the first few years. Kevin Garnett wasn't Kevin Garnett for a few years. There's an evolution to it as players learn more about how to maximize their skills. I've told some of the players that we had is you have to have 4 ways to score. If you want to be a scorer, you're not just going to be able to get open jump shots off the catch. Every other team that you play knows that. They're going to be on you. They're going to stop you. That will not work.
Ron, I look at things sometimes and I just say, I just can't believe it. What is a JV team doing? Any JV team, well, you know how I feel about youth basketball playing zones. What is a JV team doing playing a zone? They're there to learn the game so they can play varsity basketball. Why is a coach thinking, I want to win this game rather than prepare these girls for varsity basketball? It's more important to win this game than teach them how to play man-to-man, tough half-court defense, which that's what gets your team into transition. And Shanahan was great. When Shanahan played high school ball, that was her game.
I remember being a JV player and talking to other JV players and saying, our role is to get better. It's nice to win. We want to win. But if we don't win, but we're improving, then that's going to be what's best for the program.
Here's what they're thinking it should be now. And I know Lindsay's going to be doing this. I think she's feeling out the team, seeing, can we trap? Can we full court press? But that team does not want to open up the court. I could tell you before the first game, you don't want to open up the court against these teams. They're going to run away from you. You're not quick enough.
Right. What Ralph is saying is if you're going to play an extended defense, you're covering a larger area that every player has to be able to move a greater distance. And if you have certain type of athletic, bigger players especially, then you can do that. If you have less speed and quickness, then opening up the floor is suicide.
But like I said, Lindsay's was very good at the half-court defense. Back when they were winning 12 years in a row, it was all with their great half-court defense. That's how we played it.
But the other thing is that you like to go with what you're familiar with. So you rename the Princeton something else. You don't call it that. You call it your motion offense. It's still Princeton. All the other teams in the league know it. You like the three-quarter court 1-3-1 trap, which worked when you played. Well, it worked because you had a different type of player. So you have to tailor what you do to the talent and what you have. So if you feel that your talent level is not quite as where it was, then you better well control at least the defensive board. You can't give up easy baskets, and you have to keep your turnovers to an absolute minimum.
But here's what I'm saying, too. And, like the JV team, there's some girls playing, some 10th graders that are playing really well. I think it's Smith and Foley. Who's the little guard? Is it
Smith?
Smith is playing really well. I think Foley is the power forward.
Right.
And Cataldo's playing pretty good on that team. And a lot of the girls that we coached. But the one thing you need is, the reason why I say this, when you had all the freshmen, when they were playing together, that identity is so important. I know I keep bringing it up. They knew exactly what every teammate was going to be doing. They knew the pluses and minuses of every teammate, and they knew how to execute a game. Now they're all split up. Now, Coach, it's up to Coach Shanahan and her JV coach and freshman coach to put that back together. Get that identity back where everybody knows how to think the game out better. Right now, you have 12 individuals on that varsity team. They have absolutely no identity at all. Would they know that Lenore's wide open in the corner if she just hit a three-point shot? Would they know enough, the point guard, to come down and dish it to her again because she just hit a three? They don't have it.
Well, you know, they still have 14 games left. We'll have a
Well,
chance.
no, that's what they have to get. That's
Well,
what
I know.
I'm saying.
But it's fair to say you want to see that progress occur. You want to see players improve individually, but most importantly, see the team come together and execute the game much more effectively than they have so far. And that's what you get measured on as a coach. Not only who you choose, but player development, game management, individual strategy, how you play in situations. That's what a mature coach is able to do over a long
Right.
period of time.
And now the last show we had, and I was pushing because they are three of the, to me, Kat, Lenora, and Victoria, three of the top players in the whole program. But there are a lot of other players that are right behind them. I mean, you got Bella Federico playing on the freshman team. Now, I don't know if her progression is going to keep going, or Shannon Jones, if her progression is going to keep going because of the situation they're in. But those girls were a year away.
Well,
Same thing with Caitlin and Caroline.
What is not fair to say is there's no talent in the program. That is not fair. And, you know, at some point you have to measure your performance against the talent that's available.
Well, you know, Victoria now, some people say she's struggling on the JVs. Well, she shouldn't be on a JV. She should be on the varsity. I mean, if you knew her and you work with her, and we knew what she needed. She needs to face the basket. She's great from 13 feet in. She's got the physical ability, better physical ability than anybody in the whole program to really dominate. But you need to keep working with her, and the progression has to continue. Right now, her progression has stopped on that JV team. It has stopped completely.
Well, we'll be right back with more Let's Talk Sports.
Hey, this is Paul Rabel from the Boston Cannons, and you're watching Let's Talk Sports.
You all remember the XFL. It was a league where they brought in innovations like a floating camera over the field and player nicknames on the shirt, like "He Hate Me." We don't have the shirts, but maybe that's what you're going to put on them. But we want you to think with your head, not just with your heart. We want you to see sports for the enjoyment, for the controversy, for everything it brings to us. Now, you hated the Tyler Seguin trade. Seguin has had, I think, 21 goals, 20 assists, and he's +6 for the Dallas Stars. One of the lesser luminaries back to the Bruins is Riley Smith, who's got 15 goals, 17 assists, and +6. I'm not saying it's an even trade. Sagan's 21 years old, and Riley Smith's an old man. He's 22. But it looks like the Bruins totally didn't get fleeced in that part of the deal.
Well, and they got Erickson, too.
They got Erickson
most of the year. But how many goals did Erickson have? He was doing okay.
Yeah,
he wasn't doing great.
He's been hurt so much.
Yeah.
But you don't want to judge a trade over the first 2 or 3 months. It takes years to evaluate the fullness of the trade.
Well, if Erickson didn't get hit with a cheap shot by Orpik, I mean, they'd be a lot better off right now, the Bruins.
Well, that brings us to what's fair punishment for going over the line. And in the NHL, who knows? To me, if you blindside someone and you take them out for 4 months, then you should get penalized for 4 months. You're out as long as the player you injure. You can be sure that players would be a lot more judicious about dealing out cheap shots if they knew they were going to get punished to the degree of, if you end somebody's career, your career's over.
Yeah, I mean, do they use common sense, these guys? Is Shanahan, is he one of the guys?
I think he's one of them.
He's one of the guys. I mean, what do they use for brains? I mean, they're idiots, most of these people. How can you go, Thornton, okay, how can you suspend him for 15 games when you have Orpik, who's known for those hits when people, he's a hard-nosed player, but he doesn't want to fight. So, yeah, you be a hard-nosed player, good checks, innocent checks are fine. But when you go after someone, his head's down, and he doesn't expect it, and you go after him high, and you level him and knock him out for over a month with a concussion, and then Neil knees Marchand in the head intentionally and gets 5 games, and you have Thornton, who's the enforcer for the Bruins, who goes up to Orpik face-to-face and say, okay, you just knocked one of my teammates out on a blind shot. I don't care what the NHL is saying that it was borderline. You just knocked them out, and your idiot teammate needing one of my teammates in the head, well, you're going to fight right now. If you're going to hit like that, you got to stand up and fight. So, okay, the guys won't fight him. So he throws him to the ground, holds his head up, and hits him with his gloves on. And he didn't even go way up. He just hit him twice. And his bad luck, the guy gets a concussion, and he gets not thrown out for 15 games. That Shanahan's an idiot.
Well,
I mean, I could see 5 games. Neil get 5 games, give him 5 games. And Orpik, cheap shot, doesn't get any games, and he knocks Erickson out for over a month.
well, it gets you back to what place does hockey fighting have as part of the game? And
Well, in that
You
case,
know.
he should have fought him.
well, I agree with it. He should have fought
And I don't
him.
like fights, but in that case, you knock a guy out.
Right, but we go back to the Montreal game a couple of years ago. They have 3 fights before the game even starts.
I didn't like that, but
You
right.
know, it makes it into a circus like WWA or
No, but Ron,
mixed martial
15
arts.
games. I mean, come on. They're making a statement there on a guy Thornton who's, his whole career. This is the second year he's made $1 million in his whole career.
Well, he's done the right thing, doing a tough job over a long period of time.
And he apologized. The reason why he apologized is because he didn't want to get hit with a 15-game suspension. And that guy's a friend of his, Orpik. They work out together in the off season.
Well, there's no solution that's going to be forthcoming. Now, as for the Celtics made a major move.
Major?
Well, I'd call it major, and they shed $11 million worth of salary by trading Courtney Lee. The player they got back is really less.
Bayless?
Yeah, Bayless is way less consequential to the Celtics than the fact that they freed up money. And then the big issue is, can they get rid of the big albatross, which is Gerald Wallace, who's got $10 million a year contract for a couple of years? Can you package that with a draft choice somewhere, move that, and then all of a sudden you have big cap space and you might really able to get a free agent to come here.
Well, here's the moves they have to make. I told you, Green and Rondo have to go. But they should be able to get someone strong down low. And then trade Sullinger. Sullinger, he'll be good on a real good team because he can hit the outside shot, but he's too small.
Well, who are you going to build the team
He's
around?
too small. What's Sullinger going to do?
Well, who are you going to?
You build them around these draft picks they're going to be getting and these other players. Start from the bottom. You got Bradley there. You got what's his name?
Olenek.
Olenek. Well, Bass, you're not going to go anywhere with him.
So you like Crawford?
Crawford a little, but no, they got to get they got to get draft picks. They have something like 10 draft picks in the next 4 years, and then if you trade Rondo and Green, you're going to get someone pretty good for him. You trade Sullinger to a good team, maybe you'll get a half decent draft pick, maybe even a 20th draft pick. What I'm saying is, I like Sullinger. Some games he looks real good, but he's just too small, Ron. Those guys, he can't jump. He's about 6'8", power forward. I mean, he would be good if the Celtics were a strong team and you put him in the mix with a real good center. But you can't rely on him to bring your team to where you want it to go to.
Well, I just don't know if you're going to be able to get equal value to what he does, even realizing that he's not going to be. I don't see him as a future all-star player.
Oh, let me ask you this, Ron, right? The way it's set up now, they trade Rondo or they trade Green. Get rid of the two of them, and they end up maybe keeping Sullinger for a while. I would still trade
But
him
that's
to
so
him.
much salary, this $21 million salary between those. So you're going to have to trade them for really substantial players because the cap money has to match up.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to figure it out. I mean, that's where you have Wallace, too, there. I mean, whichever way they do it, but wouldn't you want to see a guy like Wiggins come in and one of those power forwards from Michigan State?
Well, the Celtics
So say this year they get Wiggins and the power forward from Michigan State playing with Bradley and Olenek. All of a sudden you say, wow, a couple more pieces, this team could be pretty good. You know what I mean?
So you can live with Crawford as the point guard.
Well, for now, yeah. But,
Okay.
Green, he's weird. I mean, the coach is trying to talk to him. This is him walking off the floor. Doesn't even look at the coach. He's in another world, Green, half the time. Sometimes he looks great, sometimes he doesn't. I don't want to play like that. Just like I tell our 6th graders. I don't want to have a good game here and, a bad game here.
I know, but at some point along the way, you have to count on somebody you have as being core. Maybe you can argue that they don't have any
You don't
core.
have one there. Who's a core player in that team?
Well,
Wiggins or Parker would be a core player.
I don't have a problem with moving Rondo because he dribbles the ball too much. And, I have a saying that the more you hear the ball dribbling during a game, the worse the game is. the game is a game of passing and cutting, not dribbling.
Well, best way to explain it, there's 24 seconds in the shot clock. You get a rebound, goes to Rondo. He comes running to the ball. Even if he's in midcourt, he comes running to the ball. He's got to get the ball. So there's no fast break. The fast break is him dribbling up the court instead of them outlet pass and then them getting him the ball up the court. So you got Rondo. So now he's dribbling the ball. You're running your plays. Someone pops open. There's a pass. There's a jump shot. So in over a 20-second span, he's dribbled the ball 18 seconds. Only one other player's touched the ball out of the 5 players. So, I mean, is that good basketball?
No.
I mean, I don't want to see him play like that. I don't want to see the Celtics with him at the point.
The problem is he's got to reestablish his value. They're talking about him going up to the main red clause for, even if it's just practice, maybe a little bit of game action, which was his idea, not the team's. And once he reestablishes his value, you can see what you can do.
But things are going perfect.
Well, their record is getting worse. I mean, even though they're something like 9th right now in the standings, they're very close to being 4th or 5th worst team.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing some good games and they're losing at the end. It's going that was a perfect basketball game, I said. When they lost, I said, this was perfect. They lost by a point and it was fun to watch. I said, it couldn't work out any better. Now they just played Oklahoma City last night. They have to play Denver and 3 other tough teams in the West.
I just wanted to say a few things, jumping over to baseball. I don't understand the fascination with Stephen Drew. He's an okay player. He turned down $14 million. That was the worst decision he ever made in his life.
Oh, Boris.
Right. If I'm Stephen Drew, I'm saying, like, thanks a lot, Scott. I'm going to get 14 for 2 years instead of 14 for 1, and I'm going to end up, going someplace I may not want to go.
Well, I don't know what the Red Sox will give him if no one else. The Mets are looking at him. But you would think Boris would have looked at all the teams and seen the shortstops on all the teams. And you'd think he would know who would be bidding for him.
I'm sure he did, but, sometimes it's that draft pick compensation. The Mets, if they take him, only have to give up a 3rd-round choice because their 1st round is protected and the 2nd they've already used up. So
the Mets may give him like $20 million over 2 years or $30 million over 3.
I don't know. I don't think they're going to do that. They have nobody. They have Ruben Tejada who, can't hit.
So what's Boris thinking about then?
He made a bad choice.
Well, he did it with what's his name too, didn't he? At Veritek.
Yeah,
he did a bad job with Veritek.
Sometimes you make a bad decision. Now, home plate collisions. I don't really have any problem with banning home plate collisions because yes, we.
What about
know
blocking the plate?
Well, then you can't block the plate.
Yeah, you can.
So that's the way it is. It's the way it is at other bases. You can't block the, and.
Well, you can block it if you have the ball.
Yeah, right.
What is the rule going to be? And what if you have the ball and you're blocking the play? What's the runner going to do? He's got to run you over.
Well, I don't think they will. And there's something like $250 million in catchers' contracts. And, you look at what happened to, everybody talks Ray Fosse, who got knocked out, ended his career with Pete Rose. But Buster Posey, when he got hurt.
His knee, wasn't it?
Yeah. When he was catching for the Giants. So, there's a big investment. I don't see that it's essential to the game. How many big collisions are there a year in baseball? 20?
Well, before we go, let's talk about the #1 sports team in the country, the UConn girls. They're undefeated, 13-0. They've beaten every team all the top teams they faced by, I think it was at least 16 points. They beat Stanford, they beat Maryland, they beat Duke.
Well, they got the monkey off their back last year. They've gotten past Notre Dame. Notre Dame is still lurking out there, though.
Yeah, Notre Dame is I think they're number 2 now.
I think they are.
No, BC is playing Notre Dame Thursday. BC just won a big game against Virginia Tech. I watched the game. Boudreaux and
KDZ.
KDZ had a good game. She's the center. Boudreaux scored 16. And the freshman had a real good game. Hughes had a good game.
And where does Tanaka end up?
Well, you don't want to talk about girls basketball?
Does Tanaka end up on the Yankees?
Of course. Where do you think he's going? The Yankees are going to be favored. They're going to be the favorites if they get him. Hey, they're back. The Yankees are back. They get Tanaka. You got Tanaka. You got Kuroda signed. You got Nova. You have Pineda. You have Sabathia.
I guess your name has to end in an A if you're going to pitch
Where's
on the
Italian,
Yankees.
though?
Pineda, Nova, Tanaka, Sabathia, Kuroda. So It's the All-A team.
But all of a sudden, they got one of the top pitching staffs. They need some setup men though.
Well, they'll be okay. The Baseball America came out with the top 5 Red Sox players in their system today. To no surprise, it was Xander Bogaerts, Jackie Bradley Jr., Garen Cicchini, who's a third baseman in Double-A, Henry Owens, a tall left-handed pitcher in Double-A, and Matt Barnes, who's a right-handed pitcher out of UConn in Triple-A. So the Red Sox have a lot of near talent that's close to being in the majors. We'll see how that goes.
They do a good job. They do a good job with their young players. I mean,
well, the issue is
a lot better than the Yankees.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Middlebrooks. Middlebrooks, he got hurt, crashing into the stands, going after a foul ball. Some people said his attitude was bad. Maybe he had distractions. If he had distractions, it might be understandable. The name was Jenny Dell. It was a distraction, but she's looking for a job, I guess, with Fox Sports National.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
She's leaving too?
So, since it may be that if he's on the Red Sox, that it wouldn't be possible to have the sideline reporter in a relationship with the third baseman.
Right, but he's a 30 home run hitter. I mean, a year, I'm telling you.
No, I agree.
Put him at third base, he'll hit 30 home runs.
People say he's going to strike out a lot. Anybody watch Napoli? Napoli strikes out a lot, but that's what you get for
he's young and he's got talent. I don't know why people are down on him.
Right, I don't know what the deal is in throwing him under the bus. Well, if you like controversy, you've been with us tonight. I've enjoyed being with you. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.